Don in London, hello, it's October the 13th. My video is all about recovery from addiction to substance and behaviour. My addictive substance, alcohol, quite readily available for all the time I drank, until the money ran out. And behaviour, trying to be with the right people, in the right places, doing the right things. So, alcohol, people, places and things. Substance, behaviour, addiction. And it can happen to anyone if we don't know or understand where we're headed. After all, it's not a sane choice to get to a place of addiction. No one would ever do it deliberately, although some might suggest they do, because they cannot control their own behaviour and what is happening to them. So ignorance was not bliss for me. I didn't really think the laws of nature applied to me, because I had a brain, a thinking person who pushed his feelings away quite a lot of the time and didn't recognise exactly what he was doing. That's me. I didn't recognise what I was doing. So from the very first drink I ever took at a very young age, it changed the way I felt, and it fixed me. It made me able to cope in that particular moment and feel happy, relaxed, somewhat tired, but certainly a sort of joy at having no fear. So alcohol did take away the inhibitions, whatever it was that made me feel fearful in any situation with other people, and I learned to depend on it. And I learned it from my dad, and although he's not about to say yes to, I think he probably was an alcoholic, because he consumed massive amounts of whiskey all his life, and beer, and anything else that was going, whatever looked right, whatever felt right, or rather what he thought was right in the moment. And I did pretty much the same thing, drinking to black out and oblivion, because life was tough. Work hard, play hard, oblivion, and then wake up the next day and do it all over again. And for some reason it helped me do things which maybe I ought not to have done. So 2 very successful careers in many respects, but downfall was there. I could not cope with my life as it was. So what happened? Well, workaholic as well as anything, relationshipaholic. Everything in my head seemed to fry and burn out, and when I couldn't work because I had a nervous breakdown, I even stopped drinking for a year or 2 just to see if that was the cause, but apparently not. It was exhaustion on all levels, emotional, spiritual, physical. And I mention spiritual because it's the ability to live in the moment of now, to cope with reality. That's what spiritual is for me. It can be called many things or described as many things, but life happens now. Life happens all the time. We're alive. So where else can spiritual be? It's now, always. And the spiritual experience we have, the quality of it, good or bad, is dependent on what we do and where we are, and our life as it is. So for many years, very happy to blot the world out, shut my mind down, my thinking down, and drink to oblivion, because that's what I'd learned to do. And when I found I could not stop, some years later, I didn't know what to do, and I pushed everyone away. I isolated myself and just wanted never to wake up again. And it went on for a long time. Somehow I didn't expire, and that's thanks to professionals as much as family, friends, who could not see how to help me, because I couldn't see how to help me either. And then one professional I contacted, I said, I need help and I just don't know what to do next. It was my moment of clarity. I cannot beat addiction on my own, and please help me. So they got me dry, and they got me to go to meetings of AA, and a very poor student, couldn't think, couldn't feel, couldn't do much of anything. But somebody said, just sit, relax and be yourself in the fellowship of other alcoholics, Alcoholics Anonymous. So I share about AA, how it helps me, the steps of AA, the 12-step program for an individual to learn how to become open, honest and willing to change on a daily basis, the very place that life happens now. So there was a lot of history to deal with, there was a lot of anguish to deal with, there was a lot of pride to let go, and find humility. And humility simply is the ability to keep on learning life and not think, I know it all. So that was quite good, really. I didn't know what to do. My ego was covering up my shame and guilt. My brave face was covering up the hollowness inside me, the emptiness. And fear drove me 1,000 different ways all the time, and I got paranoid. And I felt like the world was examining me. But at the same time, I was pretty much judging myself as worthless. And over again, the same old fears came out. It was a lack of awareness, a lack of knowing that I had an illness, a mental illness, an emotional illness, an inability to cope with reality. And it's very hard to admit it, and then accept it, and then accept on a daily basis that if I'm sober, the rest of life can work. And this is what I've learned in the fellowship of AA. Now, I don't speak for AA, never can, never will, never want to, because every single person is of equal value in the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. We're in a place where we describe it as unity, service and recovery. Unity in purpose, service, helping out each other and maintaining our recovery one day at a time. So that means, on a daily basis, what you see is what you get. It's attraction and not promotion. And what's the difference? Attraction is you can see the similarities and get something from it. Promotion would suggest you would be fixed by going to AA, and that is not true. AA is all about learning with humility how to live and cope with today. So AA is what you see is what you get today, and it will be different tomorrow and the next day and the next day. It keeps on changing because the people you meet in it keep on changing, unless you go to the same meeting over and over again because you like it, or maybe it's the only one there. So my videos are about how do the steps work in action, how do they keep me going, how do I relate to other people. So I'm going to share the AA preamble, which is on this little card here, and then some readings from a particular book, the Daily Reflections, this one. And it covers the 12-step program, 12 steps for an individual to find a way to live in the moment. And if it's a happy moment, we can be happy. If it's a sad moment, we can be sad. If it's an angry moment, we can be angry to a degree which is fitting for what is going on. And then decide, if we are angry, what to do about it. Not necessarily to strike back, but to understand what we can and cannot do. What's going to keep us healthy and what's going to be the best next thing. Doesn't mean it's going to be all our way. In fact, it's not. One of the things we learn very early on is that we are powerless over people, places and things. But in that we have the freedom of choice, what we do next. So here comes the AA preamble with one or two added bits from me, because that's the way I see it, and everybody sees it differently. We can talk about the same thing and still not agree what we're talking about, but this is how it works for me. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. So that's it, a desire to stop drinking, and end of story. There are no rules, laws or regulations in AA. We know and have learned through experience. If there were rules, laws and regulations in AA, stubborn, defiant people like alcoholics would not like it. So there aren't any rules, laws or regulations, simply suggestions of how we can get along together. There are no dues or fees for AA membership, so it's free, but we do make contributions on our own behalf, but not from external sources. So we only have just enough money, a prudent reserve, to keep on going, pay the rent, buy the tea, coffee and biscuits, and pay for some literature and admin. And we are self-supporting through our own contributions, so nobody else, there are no legacies, if you like. There's no big pot of money lying about somewhere which people are controlling, much to the consternation of those who would wish it so. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. So that's what the fellowship is, nothing to do with anything else. But every single person in AA has a view on life and supports or rejects causes, has politics, has religion. So you will hear all about other people's stuff. It's called listening for the similarities and not the differences. So we are all sober one way or another, one day at a time, and we will hear every story under the sun about how people achieve one day sober and then another and another. So our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety, and that's it in a nutshell. But of course, with any organisation, people think they know better than what was done before, and so do I. But I always go back to the basics with the fellowship. It's there to keep me sober one day at a time. I will hear everything to do with other people's lives, and anonymity is sacrosanct. Anonymous keeps us safe, so we don't gossip about people outside the fellowship, although people do from time to time. Human nature, but human nature can kill people when others find out they've been talked about, or maligned, or even praised. Praise can be as bad as maligning a person, because it's talking behind their back. And open, honest and willing, we can share straightforwardly with each other. And if we have personal matters which we're not sure about, we either get professional help outside, or we talk to people that we trust who become friends, or even a sponsor. And a sponsor is there to help us with the 12-step program primarily. But normally you find they become a friend, then you need another person to be your sponsor who is more objective than somebody who will take your side. Funny like that, fellowship. We make lots of friends, and then they can't be our sponsors, but they can be advisors on our side. But sometimes we just need an objective view, somebody who isn't going to just fit in with what we think and what we feel for today. It's a bit like having your own professional counsellor, but we remain forever non-professional because we only know sober one day at a time. We're gifted amateurs, if you like, sober, and useless drunk. But we only find that out as we go along. But don't forget, most people are very successful in staying alive and also getting the means to keep on going, and having got to AA, which is really the last chance saloon. What do you expect? Fairly tough, stubborn, defiant individuals who need to find a path. I was going to say guidance, but it doesn't work that way. We work it out for ourselves as we go along, but we do it sober rather than keep on taking a drink, if we can maintain it that way. Anyway, October from this book is all about spot check and daily inventories of looking at what we're doing, our attitudes, behaviour, what is working for us, what's not working for us. And the other side of it is saying, well, how did it go really? What have I got gratitude for? Well, I was sober, I may have got angry, but I didn't shoot anybody and I didn't hurt anybody. I worked out why I was angry, why I was disturbed, and probably walked away from a situation which would do me no good. So we learn the ability to say no. An emphatic no is better than a half-hearted yes, and it's okay to say no. So the AA Daily Reflection says today, unremitting inventories, to continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment and fear. When these crop up, we ask God, or in good conscience ask ourselves, at once to remove them. Which is, why am I fearful? Why do I feel selfish? Am I being dishonest? What's my part in all of this? We can just discuss this with someone immediately and make amends quickly if we've harmed anyone. Then we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. And sometimes we help ourselves first so we can help others. So resolutely going to meetings and helping others just by being there greeting, making some tea, sweeping the floor, putting the chairs out, putting them away, running the meeting, looking after the money, being a connection to the wider fellowship. All these things can be done. We take ourselves out of, it's not all about me, it's about fellowship, and it's about living life on life's terms. It goes on to say, the immediate admission of wrong thoughts or actions is a tough task for most human beings, but for recovering alcoholics like me it is difficult because of my propensity toward ego, fear and pride. Well, ego is what covers up my shame and guilt about inadequacies, fear of being found out, and pride, false pride, that is being prideful, thinking I'm right when other people are right. All those things. The freedom of the AA program offers me becomes more abundant when, through unremitting inventories of myself, I admit, acknowledge and accept responsibility for my wrongdoing. It is possible then for me to grow into a deeper and better understanding of what is humility. And for me, humility is always learning. My willingness to admit when the fault is mine facilitates the progression of my growth and helps me to become more understanding and helpful to others. So, the progression of my growth and helps me to become more understanding and helpful to others, which is really simply saying I'm making progress one day at a time. But the most important thing is to remember it is one day at a time. And if we think that often these days, because we are all getting a little bit more education, or it's more widely available via the internet, we can study on our own these days and come to all sorts of conclusions about how life ought to be, rather than look at the way life is today and how do I get from A to B. If I'm a bus driver, how do I become Prime Minister? Well, it's not going to happen overnight, is it? So there are steps to take, and there is no shortcut, and that's just how sobriety works. We work out learning how to be sober first, so the rest of life can happen, but it only happens now. So we don't have a storage bank where we can say, right, I've got 3 years of humility at my disposal. Now I can tell you what to do. It doesn't work that way. We have to have the learning capacity daily, and feelings only work as they work. And as it is an emotional spiritual program, knowing what our feelings are in the moment of now, we can then think our way forward. So if we know our mood, our feelings, they influence the way we think. So angry, I'm going to think angry. Happy, going to think happy, to keep it going, prolong it. If we are in love, we are going to do loving things, and we're going to think about it in a way which is loving. But if and so it goes. So we can develop ourselves in different ways. We can be angry and tormented for the rest of our lives, or we can just be angry and tormented for a bit, and then let go and move into a different way of looking at the world, feeling different about it. Some people say that's called common sense, but other people say it's something else, beyond the average person's ability. But the truth is, the average person doesn't have to go through this torment to get out of addiction. I don't know how many people are tormented at the moment, but quite a few are, outside fellowship as well as in it. Anyway, my thoughts and feelings this morning. I feel alright actually this morning. I've still got mice. Saw one of the little buggers earlier, and it ran away. Anyway, lots of cleaning and floor cleaning. So, for me, today, this morning, spot check inventories are fun and completely empowering. So, yes, taking inventory of myself is fun, but if I start taking inventory of other people, it's going to lead me into big judgments which are unhelpful. So, it's completely empowering for me to look at me and my stuff. I can say yes to the right actions and an emphatic no to actions trying to control people, places and things. So I stopped trying to control people, places and things, because I can't anyway. And a really emphatic no to people trying to control me in the moment of now. Happy, and this is the way I describe it, happy to bugger off and mind my own business today. Now, if I judge other people, I say bugger off and mind your own business. But if I'm just looking at me and my life, do I need this or not need it? I can be just happy to bugger off and mind my own business. Because although I might know a better answer, if it's not welcome, there's no point in offering it. Just because I know doesn't mean it's useful. And tied in with that, step 6 and 7, I was listening to somebody I know recently talk about their step 6 and step 7. Now step 6 is all about defects of character or personality traits which keep coming up, bubbling up from before. And in that reading I just mentioned, where it talks about watch out for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment and fear. Those are 4 good ones. I can have those at any time of day, just looking out and saying, why have they got £1 million and I've only got 2pence? And the answer is, they've got £1 million and I've got 2pence. That's it. But with step 6, fear and resentment and all the anger and stuff can come out. And step 7 is about, for me, not enough faith, courage and confidence to keep on going. So it's like a seesaw. Step 6, anger, fear, resentment. Step 7, courage, faith and confidence. But we're going to get bits of those in every day. So a step 6 day, easy to live in fear, wear a brave face, and ego is the fig leaf which covers up our shame or guilt maybe. Or step 7, where I find courage, faith and develop my confidence. Feel the fear and do it anyway. But also feel the fear and walk away if it's too blinking much right now, because that's alright. Feel the fear and do it anyway without due consideration will lead you into more hot water, more resentment and more anger. So at 6s and 7s, step 6 and 7. Always we find balance contingent on the day we ask for help and accept we can change today, which is very much like the reading. If I'm in a pickle and I don't know what to do, I ring a friend or my sister or my mother. And I'm very glad it's my mother's 80th birthday in December. I've just been reminded in an email, which is really good news. So that's how it goes. You know, spot check inventory, what's going on? What sort of 6 and 7 day am I having? Is it full of fear or has it got a bit of faith and confidence? Faith in doing the next right thing. And it can be faith in God, depending on your belief system, or it can be using your good conscience to get in contact with somebody else who might have the wisdom to help us. Previous years, ego, fear and pride, just a moment away. Back then in the thrall of alcohol, my ego was brittle, ready to break, fear a constant companion, and pride made me put on a brave face. One day at a time, in recovery, we live, develop our courage, faith, feel more confident. We have fellowship and we need never be alone again. It's shocking, isn't it? We need never be alone again. But if we're in the malady and we're isolated, hiding with our fears of picking up the phone and opening envelopes and even switching the computer on, it's not a nice life with a drink in hand in that situation. But if we put the drink down, go to a meeting, find out what's going on. And it takes time. There's no easy way to do this. And it's tough, which is why a fellowship helps, because nobody's going to try and make you do anything you don't want to. Only you can decide what you do, ultimately, which is why it's suggestions, not rules, not laws, not regulations. And if anybody tries to tell you what to do, you can just say, thank you for the instructions, but I will mind my own path. That's a nice way of saying bugger off and mind your own business, but you're saying it because I feel I'll be better off looking at it this way. But thanks. It's some wisdom which works for you. I'll remember it. Yes, and then pour me a drink. Is that how it used to be? Until I realised I drank because I could not stop. My world was full of resentment and anger at myself, and allowed me to feel the world was against me, and did not care about me. No alcohol today, whatever I feel, it is usually real, and I have choices. Life is what it is. Life is what it is, life on life's terms. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy. And if you get other chronic ailments as you get older, like I do, by doing the right thing, I had an infection, a virus, and got type 1 diabetes a few years into recovery. And if I hadn't been in recovery, I wouldn't have got it. And if I hadn't been in recovery, I wouldn't have understood what I need to do day to day. Doesn't mean I'm any good at it, but I do know what I need to do. Don't drink, go to meetings, and look after my health as best I can. But certainly not perfect by any means. and always it seems I can fall over and make it worse. There is more which I shall stick on the blog, but I'll leave it there. And the reason why I'm leaving it there is I've got a friend coming and we're going to talk about a project to help people, which has got nothing to do with fellowship, but we met in fellowship and we get on, and it's really good to try and help in the process, and certainly not take it over, and certainly not undermine them in anything they're doing, and that's good. So at the end of my videos, always it's an emotional spiritual program, knowing my feelings, how am I feeling, why and what to do. That's asserting me, and trying to work out how I feel used to be very difficult, because I would pretend and project an image to you, hoping you would like me. Well, I'm hoping to be more authentic and genuine these days, and what I find in fellowship, what you see is what you get. It's attraction, not promotion. AA won't fix you. We learn how to live life sober and then see what happens. So we learn, we find the answers as we go along. It's always in the journey and not the destination. The serenity prayer, which is to God or in good conscience, depending on your belief system, believing in the next right thing and having faith that that can happen, is one starting point. And we all have a conscience, and we all have friends who can help us if we can listen to them rather than think we know better. Judge not lest you be judged. It's one of the things which I remember. We can talk things out. But the serenity prayer, the can do, can't do, and the wisdom to know the difference works in any moment to make us able to pause and feel and then think. I feel angry, what am I going to do? I feel happy, what am I going to do? I feel like I'm in love, what am I going to do? So it's the can do, can't do bit. I can change me and my attitudes, but I can't change you or your attitudes. If I'm powerless over people, places and things, what are my freedoms around all of that? What's empowering me? And the simple answer is, I've got freedom of choice. Don't drink, go to meetings, live a happier life, if life can be happy, and deal with grief as grief happens. So the serenity prayer to God or in good conscience, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, always for me in the moment and just for today.